Okay, well, good morning and welcome to the Centre of Love, everyone. I'm so glad to have you all here today and to share the room with all of you. And welcome to everyone online as well. Thanks for the compliments. So it's my first time up here, which may surprise some of you, as you know that I really like to talk. So if you have any feedback or concerns, keep them to yourself. I'm not interested in hearing. So today is a special day. Not only is it Mother's Day, but one of my good friends is going to be talking. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the room, and also to stepmoms and moms who have struggled with fertility or anything like that. So while reflecting on some opening words today, I really thought about what brought me to this room and the connections that I'd made to really bring me here. I had one brief interaction with Cressa. We bumped into each other at another spiritual center. She wasn't even meant to be there. She came for like a talk after. I think we sat next to each other, and it was like the most brief interaction. And then I met Candace, and I'm here today bringing friends, and this community is really coming together. I'm really grateful for this community for a number of reasons, but I think the biggest one for me is having like-minded people that I can lean on. I recently applied for my master's, and I put out a text message to some people in this community to ask for some advice or some help. And within 24 hours, 3 people had responded. And I just knew then and there that, okay, like I found my place, I found my people. You know, when you reach out, they're really willing to help. So I hope that you can all find a piece of that here as well. So our speaker today is someone that I hold near and dear to my heart, Oliver. You've taught me so much, Oliver. You've taught me how a man treats his wife and his partner. And that really means the world to me. You've also shown me how a dad fathers their children, and I love watching you parent. You've also built this amazing community, and one that I'm really proud to be a part of. You've welcomed me into a circle of friends, and I come here and I don't even feel like a friend, I feel like a family member. And I hope, you know, you can all experience that. I'm sure many of you have. So I'm really so lucky to be introducing you today. Not only does Oliver challenge me, he's thought-provoking, he brings the sense of wisdom, but he's also really fun, you know? He likes to send me songs that we can dance to. We boogie down. We meet in Swolleman's Temple. So, you know, like we really just have a really well-rounded friendship and a sense of balance and belonging. So, you know, I know a lot of us share this same connection with you. So without further ado, I'll bring it to you, my friend.
I love talking about ideas and practices and books and spiritual traditions. And I think part of the reason that I love to talk about those things is because then I don't have to talk about myself. So today I'm going to try something a little different, something I haven't really done before when I'm doing public speaking. So 10 years ago, in the spring of the year 2013, the world awakened from winter's sleep, and I awoke as well. I was at the office, sitting in my cubicle, engaged in thoughtless, repetitive work, the kind of work I love best, because it's semi-automatic, so it frees up my mind and my faculties for other things, like listening to podcasts and audiobooks, or just thinking about stuff, which I love to do. And that's what I was doing on this fateful spring day. I was sitting in the office thinking about stuff. I was thinking about this puzzling conundrum that I call the human condition. I was marveling at how human beings are these like exalted animals that have reached a form of consciousness more novel and revolutionary than anything else on this planet. Many animals think, but only one animal thinks about thinking, knows that it thinks, and knows that it exists. And that's us. Humans are self-aware, linguistic, creative wizards, capable of shaping ourselves and our environments according to our whims and desires. We're capable of conceiving something in the innermost recess of our being and then manifesting it in 3D. It's incredible. We're capable of disobedience to nature, which, by the way, is not the original sin, as some people would have you believe. but rather the original virtue, disobedience. Nature says, no wings, no flying. And human beings go, hold my beer, right? Only human beings are capable of transcending their physical, biological limitations in this way, right? So the question I was grappling with on this day is, how can we be these miraculous and creative and liberated beings and end up in this predicament that we're in today as a global civilization, marching steadily, or so it seems, towards our extinction? How does such a magnificent being end up divided and in fear of itself? In other words, if we're these self-authoring, environment-shaping demigods, why are we fighting amongst ourselves? Why are we destroying the world that birthed and sustains us? Why are we at war with nature when we are nature itself? We're at war with ourselves, my friends. So as I was frantically exploring these ideas, the question itself became suddenly so clear that it vanished. And I saw in the following glance the entire web, the whole enchilada. And it was beautiful, and it was simple, and it was self-evident. It was like, no duh. I started to cry right there in the office, tears running down my face. I felt euphoric. I wanted to stand up on my desk and shout it out to the world. It's going to be all right, everybody. Everything is going to be A-okay. Everything is perfect. It's beautiful, and it makes sense. My friends, this was the moment that I started living. Before this day, life was simply happening to me. That's when I woke up. The universe expanded for me on that day 10 years ago. My eyes opened, and I saw, really saw for the first time. I saw beauty in nature, saw beauty in myself, I saw beauty in other people for the first time. I became present, and I bore witness to the endless miracles, blessings, and good omens that surrounded me, that had always surrounded me, and that continue to surround me to this day. How had I missed all of this for 30 years of my life? Well, it's taken me about 10 years to understand what happened to me on that day. As it turns out, what I call my cubicle epiphany was simply a stepping stone in a long line leading me to this very moment, here and now. As I look back along this winding path, I see that everything which has come before was simply training and preparation for this moment. The universe has been steadily and patiently leading me and training me, and not only for this moment, but for this work, for this community, for my family, and for the world. What's more, I have it on good authority that all of this is by design, no flukes, no coincidences. It was destined long ago, foretold, prophesied even. We're all part of something big, my friends, the unfolding pattern of destiny. And today I'd like to share some stories from my past, reveal my portion of this pattern that we're all a part of, and then invite you all to do the same, because I want to hear your stories. Yes, unbeknownst to me, until very recently, the universe has been educating me in the mysteries of love and training me for this work. It started quite a while ago, actually, on May 13th, 1983, 40 years ago yesterday. Marcel Bellil and José Turcotte welcomed their first and only begotten son into the world. Olivier, Joseph, Jean-Guy, Marcel Bellil. That's a French-Canadian thing. Yes, my parents blessed me with a whole bunch of names, but it's the name they didn't give me that foretold all of this. Because even though my last name is Bellil, my father was adopted, and he had the pleasure of meeting his biological father. And can you guess what his name was? No. His name was André Lamoureux, the lover. Foreshadowing, perhaps? By the way, the answer is yes. This entire talk is all about me. It's my birthday gift to myself, a captive audience. It's the best gift for me, so thank you for humoring me as I share some tales from my past. So, A little bit of background. My parents, they never graduated from high school, so their employment prospects were rather limited. When I was about a year old, my mom got a job at Le Journal de Montréal, which is a very prestigious newspaper. It was a great opportunity for her, especially considering her lack of prospects. And so this is the kind of opportunity or job that would have raised my family out of poverty and changed the trajectory of our lives. She had to start work very early in the morning, and so I had to be dropped off at daycare, and then my dad worked as well, so he would have to come pick me up later in the day, which nowadays I think is pretty standard, but back then, or maybe just because my parents were thinking differently, they didn't want to continue this because I was struggling as a kid. I wasn't adapting to this new routine. So my parents decided together that my mom would quit the job. And from that day on, she was a stay-at-home mom for the next probably 10 years of my life. By the way, every day is Mother's Day, because without mothers, there would be no days, right? Without mothers to create life, we wouldn't have days to count, so there would be no days. So every day is Mother's Day, but today is actually Mother's Day, and I would like to send a shout out to all the mothers, whether you have children or not, because mothering is obviously something that is beyond biology. You ladies really make a lot of sacrifices, and you have for a long time. And I think it's important that we honor that, because you sustain and you nurture and you humble all of life. And especially you humble us men, and we need that. So thank you. So my mother, she made this sacrifice, and it meant years of financial struggle for us, because now we were only on one income. And again, my father not being that educated, he was working in menial jobs. So my whole life coming up, we were financially in very dire straits, but I never knew about it while I was living through it, because my parents never let me feel the financial hardship, never let me feel the stress. I was talking to my parents not long ago, and they said, we didn't have a lot, but what we had, we gave to you. And that's the pattern of my parents and my family over and over again. They kept putting me above everything else. My mother sacrificed years of her life and a career to be at home with me. Wherever we lived, I always had the best bedroom. I had the ensuite. They were living in the little tiny bedroom. They put me in the best room, every apartment we ever lived in, every time. There were always presents under the Christmas tree, even if my dad had to pawn some stuff to make it happen. And this one is a story that I've shared before, but I'll share it again. On my dad's birthday, he would say to me, Olivier, qu'est-ce que tu veux pour ma fête? Which means, Oliver, what do you want for my birthday? So on his birthday, he would ask me what I wanted, and then he would buy me gifts, which, again, I'm not saying it was all good. As we'll see, this has unforeseen side effects, but just to illustrate the dynamic of my family, okay? So that's how they raised me. They put me first, above themselves, over and over again. And so after school one day, my mom picks me up and she says, Olivier, on déménage. We're moving. Oh, all right, that's cool. We've moved many times before. We're pretty nomadic, right? So I'm not too concerned. She says, on déménage à Vancouver. Vancouver? C'est où ça? Where is that? It's at the other end of the country. And that very night, my friends, the same night that I got picked up from school, me and my parents were on a Greyhound bus with 3 suitcases en route to the West Coast, where employment opportunities are more plentiful because it's 1991. And of course, the construction industry is booming because it's Victoria. So this move to the West Coast was one of the greatest blessings in my life. It brought me here to this beautiful island, to these amazing people that are all here now, and to many life-changing relationships. Now, I should note that my parents are far from perfect, but because they were leaning hard into love, even their mistakes, I realize now, were blessings. For example, by always putting me first, my parents shaped me into a spoiled, self-centered, arrogant fool.
Your parents?
Well, I helped. They provided the ideal circumstances for this monstrosity to arise, let's say. Now, you might ask, how is this a blessing? How is this mistake a blessing? And for this, I would like to quote one of my favorite teachers, Lao Tzu, who is the author of the Tao Te Ching. He says, "What is a good woman but a bad man's teacher?" What is a bad man but a good woman's job? See, this spoiled fool that
Seriously?
helped create. This fool that my parents helped to shape and create somehow charmed a good woman. And soon I became her job. And she became my job, actually. It was actually really nice because it's true. When I first met Candace, the reaction was alchemical. It was immediate and we were both transformed. If there's such a thing as love at first sight, I would say this is by far the closest thing that I've ever experienced to it. If it's not it, I don't know what is, because I immediately knew something was different. But even though it was a strong reaction, it doesn't mean that it was easy. It doesn't mean that we didn't have work to do. And we certainly did. I would say that I had the most work to do, but Candace essentially became my second and greatest teacher after my parents. Because my parents taught me what it feels like to be loved unconditionally and to be put first, right? But they never taught me how to put other people first or how to love unconditionally. And that was Candace's job. That was Candace's job. She showed me, she modeled the behavior of what it looks like to love others unconditionally, to give unconditionally, put others ahead of herself time and time and time again. Before Candace, it was me first. But now with Candace, I experienced myself as part of something greater than myself. For the first time in my entire life, someone else mattered more than me. That's a big revelation for an only child, my friends. With Candace, I started to course correct, right? From this me first attitude. And then I started to lean harder and harder into love. What I experienced 10 years ago in the cubicle, what I described at the beginning of this talk, is the result of that leaning into love. It allowed me to get to the right place, that is to say, close to the center, so that I could hear the answer to my earnest question. The episode contains the solution to the entire human conundrum. This whole question of why we, as exalted, divine, creative beings, are trapped in a cycle of conflict and exploitation and suffering. The answer I was looking for didn't come as words, but as a direct experience. My heart opened. I felt myself and the whole of creation as one, through love, as love, in love. And that's the solution to the paradox of the human condition. Not the word love, not the concept of love, not the narrow definition of love of, like I love you, you love me, but love as an experience of oneself as you truly are, as awareness and agency wrapped in a cloak of mind and flesh, as everything everywhere all at once, because that's what you are. So there you go. On May 15th, 2022, the Center of Love held its very first gathering in this very space. This first gathering was, as you can see now, the culmination not only of my own experiences and journey on the path of love, but also of your experiences and your journeys. Because the Center of Love is a convergence point, a coming together of fate and destiny, an intersection of time and space, here and now. We've come together to lead a rising tide of conscious transformation, to tip the scales and restore balance, my friends. The world, as you can probably tell right now, is deep in fear, division, extremism, and conflict. The way to restore balance is to lean heavily into love, unity, moderation, and cooperation. And that's what we're doing here, my friends. That's what we're doing. We're driving this movement. We're at the very forefront of a great transformation that's already happening. And it's a great blessing and a great honor and privilege to be a part of it with all of you. This community is a blessing to anyone who partakes, myself above all. I get so much out of this. It's unbelievable. Every time you folks leave on a Sunday, I'm high off life for the rest of the day, baby. So energizing, feel so connected and tapped in, right? So in closing, what I would like to share with you is my role in this community, because that's something that I struggled with in recent times, and I was feeling kind of down. You know, you've heard the expression, comparison is the thief of joy. You know, I was comparing myself to all these amazing people in our community, and I was thinking, well, I don't have the education that this person has. I don't have the training that this person has. You know, I'm not that eloquent of a public speaker. Like, I started to see all the things I'm not. And then I went into my journal and I said to the great teacher, I said, what am I supposed to do in this community? I don't have anything to do. I don't have a role to play. And the great teacher told me that I don't need to be a leader or a speaker or any other thing at all. All I have to do is be a lover. Cultivate, share, and spread love. Help people connect and support people in their times of need. That's all I have to do. I don't have to be eloquent. I don't have to blow you away with witty lyricisms. I just have to be loving. And I think I can do that. That's the good news. In fact, I think my entire life, my friends, has been training for this very task. So thank you for giving me a platform to carry out my purpose and my mission in this life. And in closing, I would just like to reshare some of the lyrics of the song that we just heard. Now, if you feel that you can't go on because all of your hope is gone and your life is filled with much confusion until happiness is just an illusion and your world around you is crumbling down, darlings, reach out. I will be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this has been amazing.
Yeah, you're on.
Mic check. Like, I don't need a mic. So today's been amazing. I loved hearing everyone's stories, and I mean, to Oliver, like, I loved hearing your words. And I loved hearing a bit about people that I don't know much about. So that was also really great. I think what really on Thursday I went to the Moose Hide campaign, which is it's for ending violence against women and children, but primarily Indigenous women and children. And we had this exercise in the beginning, and I thought I'd share it. She was talking about like love and leading with love. And they made us turn to each person and like really give each other like the loving eyes. And that was really awkward for me because my mother was sitting next to me, and my mom and I do not say we love each other or anything like that. So I really had to look at her and like say it and like look into the eyes and really give her that deep feeling. So, you know, maybe we can go out into the week and spread some loving eyes. I think what really came up for me today was we're like all different individuals with different stories. And yet we come together as a community to share, and then we also go out into the community with the lessons that we've learned here, and shared with each other. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming. I guess we have the basket that we're going to send around.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll just leave it here.
Okay. Yeah, you can.
Always there. Always appreciate your gift.
Yeah, they've got a lot of overhead stuff going on. A reminder about the July stuff. That's
Yeah, so we're gonna send out the flyer for the July retreat, which is it's called the Spiritual Buffet. Kind of sample spiritual practices prepared with love by our own community members. Sample these dishes. So that's coming up July 8th. I'll send out the invite, and then we're also going to get an art a group going in August as well. Here we'll have a whole afternoon, and Linda has agreed to come and lead that. And of course, Linda is the person who brings a lot of the paintings that are here. So, you know, if you want to learn from somebody, probably not a bad person. So.
Yeah, you've got an art show going on with Chosen too.
Yes, yeah.
Which I think we handed out some brochure pamphlets to that.
Yeah.
And then also, I guess, getting involved here. If you ever want to talk, if you ever want to take this position up, or techie and step into the role, sometimes. Yeah, so I guess we'll just close with the song. Awesome. Thanks for coming, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day.
Thank you.